It's about going home and having something I've never had before. The biggest sin that any man can ever commit is never showing up in life fully as God intended. And so many of us, me included, have just kind of walked through life half dead. I have less life to live than what I've already lived. So I want the rest of my life to be about quality and not quantity. That means I got to lay down my life for somebody else. It means that I have to live for these people.
So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Podcast. We're here with Paul Dudley, and we are at Moberly Correctional Center. We're here with Paul today, talk about how he's leading in the dog program. And we're here with a very special guest who has traveled pretty far to be with us today. And we also have Deputy Warden Kempker back with us today on the Pull Up Podcast. So hello, everyone.
What's up?
Hey, boo.
Hello.
And Paul, the man of the hour, introduce yourself to our audience, if you would.
So my name is Paul. I've been locked up for roughly 23 years now. I got a couple years left before I go home, trying to figure out how to go home the best version of myself possible. For me, basically, it's just a default behavior that I'm learning to get over now. But for so very long, I've seen everything in life as a threat. And, I neutralized it. And not always to the best of my ability. And I'll never forget, Kempker was there and he said, why don't you just take the guy's temperature? And I'm like, well, what does that look like? The thought had never occurred to me because when people in prison look at you, it's one of two things.
I would ask you, Dr. Kandiah, if you could respond to that a little bit in your work with kids in the foster system. Surely you see kids that come with unskilled expressions, bad behaviors as a reaction to things that you have to see in a different light.
We were just talking about that in a session this morning here, where I told the story of a young lad that came to live with me. He just turned up at my house coming from the ER. He had been assaulted by one of his parents and he was in shock and he couldn't speak, right? And I'm pretty good at speaking to people and making them feel at ease, but I couldn't get anywhere with him. And I just watched my lads, they were just maybe a year older than him, pour some kindness and affirmation into his life. They used a therapeutic tool I wasn't aware of. It's called an Xbox, and they had a game of soccer. They just poured affirmation into this lad as he was playing a game of FIFA, and then he was ready to kind of have some dinner with us. And I was taught a phrase, be curious, not furious. Like, take the temperature, find out what's going on with someone. See if you can understand what's the story that brings this person to this moment in their life. And if you give them enough time to tell their story, you're going to find out something that's going to help you reframe how to respond. And I think if we don't do that, if I'd have just got furious, he'd been in my house less than an hour, that would have made his time with us so less useful to him. I wouldn't have been able to help him recover from his trauma. I would have added to his trauma. And once I add to his trauma, then we're building patterns into his life that he can't trust anybody, that the people that should be providing care for him don't. And therefore, that's a problem. I've met so many people today and throughout my life who haven't received that affirmation, that care, that attention, that due diligence in understanding what's going on with them, and it set them on a track, and that track often ends up in a place like this, and it doesn't need to. If we can show children in the care system the love and attention they need, that's a better chance of them, having a meaningful and full life that doesn't involve exploitation or criminalization or destitution. We might be able to help them before this system begins to hoover them up. But what I'm enjoying about here is that it's never too late, right? It's never too late for a second chance. It's never too late for love and kindness and compassion to reshape someone. And so it's really encouraging to see the work that's going on here. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's a philosophical change that I've seen within the department, is a willingness just to see. I think, Paul, I've heard you talk to that some in the past, you said you've spent 23 years in prison. Can you speak a little bit to your previous experience with prison programs and a willingness to let them be authentic and real?
I remember one of my first run-ins with a prison program. I was fresh in prison, and I knew that just because I came to prison, I still had to be a dad, but I knew I had to learn how to be a dad differently. And so what did that look like? And so I got involved with Inside Out Dads, and it was so far from what I needed that halfway through it, I just give up on it. And that just seemed to be the narrative for every other prison program. This is the first one that I am truly in with both feet. You specifically, Bo, has shown me what's possible. But not only that, it's about being relatable. You've been somewhere that I can understand where you've been, and you understand where I'm at right now. You may not in terms of the breadth or the depth, but we've been there. We understand the culture. We understand what it takes to survive and get through the other side. And where you've come at now, I'm just like, man, if he can do it, I can do it. Right? That lane that you're in now, that's God's lane for you. And he's going to have a lane for me. And my focus is really reentry. Really just specifically reentry. And my vision for reentry is to have a true reentry center inside every prison in the Department of Corrections. True reentry is about restoration. And the idea behind restoration is restoring an individual to its original place. And a lot of these guys, they may not have been in that original place, but they were intended to be an original by God. And society, whether it was, the education system, whether it was their families, whatever it was, they dropped the ball, right? And I think true reentry, wraparound reentry on an individual level will help that person be restored and get back home into society. Dealing with our children, if we were being proactive as parents, or if society or whatever it was being proactive was us as children, then the Department of Corrections or the state or whoever that is wouldn't have to be reactive now. And so I think it's about dealing with an individual on their level, meeting them right where they're at and understanding what their needs are, because what you need is not what I need. And so back to what you said, when it comes to programs in prison,
because of reactive, which we were just having a conversation a few minutes ago. I was explaining to him how count works and how we're all standing there waiting for the movement, and everyone's just perpetually waiting. And it's kind of everything is reactive. It's not just programming. It's the way prisons are here to keep prisons safe, and everything is a reaction to something to keep you in here and to keep it safe. But I've seen you're in the dog program. You are involved in GLA. So even as pessimistic or as apprehensive as you may have been, you've kind of bought in. I see you got your JC shirt on today. So how do you effectively lead in here working towards that date that's now just 2 years away? What is your motive in your leadership to get to that date?
It's about going home and having something I've never had before. A lot of guys that come to prison, they don't know what life is. Several years ago in school, I listened to a podcast by a gentleman who said the biggest sin that any man can ever commit is never showing up in life fully as God intended. And so many of us, me included, have just kind of walked through life half dead. And I don't want to do that anymore. For me, I have less life to live than what I've already lived. So I want the rest of my life to be about quality and not quantity. When we was kids, it was about quantity. How many beers can we drink? How many girls can we get with? How many things can we do? All of this. And none of it matters. You don't remember any of those things. But for me, going home, a good steak and good conversation means a lot more now than it did 25 years ago. And that's what I want it to be. But more importantly, because I've been through here, I know that we have the ability, if you get the right guys in the room, to be able to help individuals become the best version of themselves possible. Jesus said it like this. He said that we are to love our neighbors, we love ourselves. But I want to ask you, do we truly love our neighbors as we love ourselves? And the answer is no, we don't. According to Scripture, love is law. It's a command. It's not an emotion. Now, emotion can be involved in that. Absolutely. But God commands us to love our neighbor. And it's sacrificial. It's about giving something up. Jesus showed it. He climbed up on the cross and took the hit for us. He said, I laid down my life for you.
Yeah.
That means I got to lay down my life for somebody else. But does that mean I got to die? No, it doesn't mean that I got to die. It means that I have to live for these people. And that is my goal. I want to go home and I want to live for my children. I want to be for my grandchildren what I didn't get to be for my children growing up. And I want to experience life.
How do you practice that now? Like, how do you lead day to day in a way that is going to give you the best chance of getting to that place?
I've been in the dog program since 2010. Myself and a bunch of guys, we started it in Crossroads Correctional Center. And really then it wasn't about dog training. It was just about dog sitting. And the idea of what the CGC was just wasn't even a concept to us that we understood until I got here. And so I've really jumped off into the science behind that. And we teach a lot of the new guys coming in how to train a dog and what it means. Because for me, a dog is just a four-legged furry version of us when they come out of the shelter. Man, they're broken, they're lost, they need love, they need reassurance, they need that confidence, and they need somebody to pour into them and to help them, get to that place to where they can be happy, healthy, and safe. And on top of that, I've taken the initiative to be a vet tech. It's just a voluntary position. I make sure that these dogs are healthy. I take, I deworm them. I clip their nails. I take care of their teeth. I clean their ears. I deal with any kind of minor incidents or major incidents that I can. And then just as far as in my community, so we live in a therapeutic community of about 66 guys. And so I just try to help the new guys that come in that have been, when they first get here. I remember when I first got locked up in Crossroads and there was a Christian that walked up to me and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, you don't have no choice. You have to do this. And I said, why? He said, in 25 years, when somebody else comes through that door just like you, you can look at them with tears in your eyes and you can grab a hold of them and tell them that they're going to be all right and we're going to get through this together. And so that's what I do. And that's how I lead right where I'm at.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Bo here. This week's episode is brought to you by Our Daily Bread Ministries. Our Daily Bread Ministries helps people grow closer in their relationship with God, become more like Jesus, and respond to God's Word through the conviction of the Holy Spirit. You can learn more about them and discover resources to help you experience the life-changing wisdom of the Bible every day at odbm.org if you have the internet. And if you are enjoying the Pull Up Podcast, you can find more content like this by following the Our Daily Bread Ministries page right here on the Pando app and everywhere you get your podcasts. Now, back to the show. If you could give advice, we don't give advice.
Right.
23 years in, 2 years left. Somebody's just got off the Grey Goose, and Paul's got a little tidbit. What would you say to that guy getting off the bus?
Man, never give up. Never give up, man. There's always another side to this thing. I'm gonna take your saying, listen, we can't turn the Titanic around in a creek, but I mean, we can get shovels and we can put more water in. We can do what we got to do. And these guys want change. They want something different. And I think that is important. And we've got to, and the staff included, there are staff that are tired of the way the things are. I mean, DOC has got to stop being punitive. The title, the Department of Corrections, is literally a lie to the public. You're not correcting anything. How do men and women come to these institutions and leave worse than when they came? You're not doing society any justice. You're not doing the individual any justice. And you're certainly not doing the victims any justice.
But if that were entirely true, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
Okay. We wouldn't have Bo. So I don't think it can be lost in the conversation to talk about, the ideal scenario, which I would agree. There's areas that can be improved upon, but it is turning around the Titanic. And in the moment, we have to be the change we want to see.
Right.
And that's all we can do. Right. Systemic change is not easy, even if everybody's on board. In a prison, if you move that trash can, there's going to be 100 guys, say it's in the visiting room, there's going to be 100 guys complain about that.
Right.
Even if it made sense to put it in, the new location. Even if there's guys out there complaining that we gave out cooling towels, staff and residents, right? So even if everybody is on board, it's hard to make a change.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. I run a facility every day. And even in the best of circumstances, it takes effort, even when everybody's on board. So not to say that it's impossible, but you can't lose sight of the good that happens on the day to day for the big picture and the ideas of grandeur, right? So me and Bo have experienced this along this journey in the last several years, trying to get this thing off the ground. You can say, here's where we want to go. But if that's all you focus on, you're not getting through the hard stuff it takes now, today, to perpetuate the growth, to get down there, right? And I'm not trying to be hard on you. I just wanted to say we are doing it right. Is it as often as we could? Maybe not.
Right.
But we still have to appreciate the times where we are. Right. Bo Cornelius is one man who got out and has affected, say, 50,000 guys. If we changed one of those guys who changes another 50,000, was it worth it? Did the Department of Corrections play a role? Would you have the outlook you have now towards your significant other and your grandchildren if you never were incarcerated? We don't know the answers to those questions. All we can do is the best we can do right now. All we can do is focus on the positive and try and perpetuate growth and change in the people that are amiable to it. Anything else, you're fighting a battle you cannot win.
Right.
You're gonna wear yourself out before you get to the finish line. It's about the process, like we talked about earlier, not necessarily the finish line. And if we're changing individuals who go on to change hundreds, thousands of lives, then we're doing something right. So how do we take that and build on it? How do we do it better without focusing on what we've done wrong in the past, right? So even as an individual, if I predicated every decision I make moving forward in life by the things I did wrong rather than the things I did right, I would lean one way or the other, right? It wouldn't be a well-balanced recipe.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we can appreciate the good, and we have to appreciate that there's things that need to be improved upon. But that's the recipe, I think, in my mind, that leads to betterment and improvement and growth eventually. So
can I agree with both of you?
Yeah.
Not just to be diplomatic. So I think that there are different models of prophetic change, that using a Bible phrase. So you've got someone like John the Baptist. And John the Baptist spends a lot of his time outside King Herod's house telling him what a nasty piece of work he is, right? And how he's sleeping with his brother's wife, and he's calling it out. And there is a place for the challenge. Does that make sense? Calling out what's wrong and to recognize that a lot of the work that some of our government systems do, and I speak to my country as well as yours, they're not doing what they were supposed to do. I thought your phrase around the Department of Corrections often doesn't feel like it's correcting. So that is an important role. But there's another model of the prophet, which is Daniel, right? Daniel works with the administration. He's in Babylon, and he doesn't go to King Nebuchadnezzar, you're an evil guy, even though he really is an evil guy, right? He says, I'm going to find a way to make this system work better. Now, that's a pincer movement, right? You need someone calling it out on the outside, and you need someone else on the inside working for change. And when those two approaches work together, that's when things happen. Sometimes the critical voice outside creates the political moment that people recognize they need change. It's a wake-up call. But you need someone on the inside going, we have a way to make this change. So I love this podcast. You're bringing people with very different perspectives together, but we all want the same thing. We want a system that's going to help people to flourish, to be the best person that God's made them to be. And I think there's room for both of those perspectives. Does that make sense?
The way I heard Paul just describe it, in prison, we judge the other side by their actions, and we stand on our intentions, right? Well, what that doesn't do is prepare you to go be that husband, that grandfather, that member of the community that you want to be. You've talked yourself into pressing your bunk, but what you're doing is practicing who you're going to be when you get home. And so the work that you're doing is preparing you for what you are not prepared for. And you're absolutely right. You are not prepared to get out, because the only thing that can prepare you to get out is to get out. But the work that you're doing, the way that you're leading in here, the way that you're learning in here is what will make you 100% a success when you get to it, is because of the work that you've done will make you able to deal with the things that overwhelm you and you are not prepared for. So I've been out for 2 years, and you say, oh, I see you doing this and I see you doing that. But I have a wife that deals with a lot of my crappiness that allows me to be effective at what I do. It's not that I'm some magically awesome person that got out of prison. It's that I had a motive, I have a team, I have a purpose, I have a mission, and a way of saying it, right? I think often in reentry, people think, oh, I take this class and now I'm going to understand how to deal with a bank. You don't need to know how to deal with the bank. I can get you a checking account in about 15 minutes. What I can't get you to do is pay your bills every month with your checking account. Right. I can't get you to understand accountability and responsibility and what being accountable and responsible to those people you're going home to means, right? The only way to learn that is through the wisdom and the skill of living. And so, boy, I made 3 lefts because we were talking about, the dichotomy as it is, but that work, that understanding, that willingness to say, I think you're a POS, but I'm still going to work with you because this is who I am. This is what defines me. That will be the reason that there is 100% chance that you will not come back here.
So that's what I was going to say. It takes practice, and you got to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to know how to deal with uncomfortable positions. And I'm not mad at you for having your point of view. I'm not. And I can understand how somebody on, the opposite side of me would feel the same way, underserved by the establishment that's supposed to. And there's usefulness in that, because Bo was there 6 years ago when I came across him. He was in the same place. And, whether you're disgruntled or happy with your current situation, something's got to be the fuel. If being disgruntled with how things currently operate is going to be the fuel it takes for you to realize your dream to modify reentry inside of prisons, then cool, whatever. Use it. I was just saying it's not always the case. And whatever it is, be passionate about it. Practice it every day. That's why Bo's sitting here today, because he put himself in positions that might not have been advantageous to him at the time, put his neck on the line for a better outcome tomorrow. And here we sit, right? You rolled the dice a lot to put yourself out there while you were still incarcerated to push the envelope. And if you wouldn't have been upset with how things were, you never would have done that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say all the time, I had a real lived experience in prison, and quite frankly, it pissed me off. And that's why I'm here. But that experience isn't why I'm here in Moberly with Dr. Krish Kandiah from London today. That wasn't the plan, right? I had a plan to go home and be a good dad and be a good husband, but I didn't have the XYZ of what that would be. But as these things present themselves, I sent 8 emails before I got a yes just to be here doing this with you today. I had 7 opportunities to say, I guess I'm not recording that podcast with Paul today. But instead of the aggravation or the frustration, it is just the work that is changing a system. So it's a little thing today, but that becomes who I am, right?
And I could, it goes back to what I said earlier. You got to assume positive intent. So he didn't give up because he now knows what he might not have known in the very beginning, but he was just stubborn in the first part of his release.
I got to prison.
He just, I'm just not going to give up. I'm going to make them give me an answer. But now he knows that everybody's busy. It's not necessarily ill intent. It's one of 100 different reasons why, and that's what I wanted to say. The Department of Corrections can improve a lot more. It has improved a lot in the last decade, in my opinion. And all through the department's 12 to 14,000 employees, there are people who care, that want to make things better.
Absolutely.
And we got to figure out how to shape things as a collaborative effort towards the end goal. We've got work to do, but that's what we're doing right now. We're given an opportunity right now to shape and affect people's mindset, and ultimately the culture inside correctional facilities. And who knows what that spurs, right? So the ripple effect, we never know unless we have it, the hard talks, unless we disagree a little bit, we'll never get through the conflict into resolution. So
Yeah, I think this is good. I mean, transparency is really important, and having the ability to be able to sit down and have these tough conversations. And you talk about how this affects people. The conversation on this yard with a lot of guys is, how can I help? How can I help? I like what you're doing. How can I help? Like, this wasn't this conversation a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. So it's coming, and it's coming in small bits and pieces. And I think it's really amazing. And when I was talking about the Department of Corrections, I was talking about it as an entity, not as an individual, because there are a lot of guys. Some of the guys that I tell at the academy and orientation is that there will be a staff member that has an impact on your life. And it'll be either good or bad, but there have been staff members throughout my entire bit that have changed my life because, I mean, listen, I'm going to go out on a ledge here. You can get rid of this if you want. Captain Purnell changed my life because I was over in academy and she was there with Lieutenant Spickard, and we were wrestling with identity, and I was kind of having a moment, and she walked up to me after the meeting and she said, I want to tell you something. She said, you are a child of God and he loves you, and so do I, and I don't want you to ever forget that. Right. Never in a million years would I have thought a staff member, let alone Captain Purnell, say that to me. And so it's just amazing. This is the conversations around in cells and in the chow hall and in programs are changing because of this.
That's what I told Dr. Kandiah on the way here. Was part of what it does is it gives you a vocabulary. You can have a conversation with the captain in that moment where you know exactly what you're saying. It's not ambiguous. There's not a lack of clarity.
Right.
And I can tell you that the people all the way to the top would say that conversation was okay and encouraged, because corrections is changing, not just the department that we operate in. Corrections as a whole is changing from the punitive model of the 90s to now, hey, they see other countries, continents that are doing it better and having better results. And so even though it's a Titanic in a creek, they know that they need to turn it around somehow. They know that there are better options, and there are good people who are willing to push against the status quo to make that happen. And so it's people like you who pull the diamond out and say, I see this different thing here. I can take this and I can hang my hat on this, and I'm going to apply myself to this, even though there's 9 things around it that give you reason not to, because at the end of the day, it's a prison. If you're looking for a reason to press your bunk, you're going to find it. Yeah. But if you're looking to lead your way out, that is also available if you're willing to be curious and creative to find it.
Well, I think accountability is really important. I don't like that word, because I feel like accountability is just a lack of true leadership, because if you've got true leader in position, there is no need for accountability. You have somebody that people want to follow, and they do what's necessary and what they have to because of the leader. And so, but I kind of look at accountability a little differently now. When it comes to us, listen, we've made mistakes. I'm here because I screwed up, and that's just bottom line. And I'm being held accountable for what I've done, and I got to get square with the house, whatever that looks like. And I don't place all the blame on the Department of Corrections. Bottom line is, if I wouldn't have done what I did, I wouldn't be here.
Could we do it better, though?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And,
I would agree.
And because a huge driver for me right now in global leadership is it kind of is rooted in what you said when you became aware of this in Algoa, laying on your back, and the only thing you got is 66 channels and an 8750 bag of canteen, and that's all you got, and I'm supposed to go home a better man. I've got a son that has been to prison twice, and he's probably going to come back a third time. And when he does, I hope he doesn't, but when he does, I want him to have the ability, when he intentionally makes a decision, to say, hey, I want something different, the resources to be there. And this is a way for that to happen.
And a way for it to be found organically and in an authentic way, right?
Or grown at the grassroots level. Like, solutions to problems occur closest to the problem. Right. This is a solution to a problem he saw while he was incarcerated. You see a different problem that you want to bring a solution to. And without your point of view, as I said, you wouldn't be working towards that solution.
Right.
So it takes grassroots to really accomplish the change we want to see. It takes a movement. It takes people behind you that see the vision and want to perpetuate the change you want to see.
That was gold. So I need to wrap this up, but I would just say this, Paul. I don't say this to a lot of people, but I look forward to you being on the other side of this thing 2 years from now and staying curious and not furious. I can't wait for the day where I walk you back in here shortly after you get out with your head up, proof of the work that you've done for a quarter of a decade, that you've gotten to a place that you've earned through hard work, commitment to your faith, the people around you, that you follow through and that you live what you're saying. You remind me of myself a lot because you're not an extrovert. You're an ambivert at best,
yes.
Which is what I am. You don't seek attention, and then I can tell your heart has something to say, and when you decide to say it, you say it with conviction and know-how, and that's rare. And so keep that. That's your secret power that will give you the influence, I believe, that I know that you have on the guys that are out in the yard, is that authenticity that you bring. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Pull Up Podcast with Paul Dudley from Moberly Correctional Center. Tune in again in 2 weeks, where we'll be back here for another episode of the Pull Up Podcast. And that about wraps it up for this week. So thanks again for joining us. This week's episode was brought to you by our Daily Bread Ministries, helping you experience the life-changing wisdom of the Bible every day. And don't forget about it. We're serious. If you know someone who's a good example of what leadership and positive influence looks like inside of prison, let us know, and we might pull up on you. You can contact us through our Daily Bread Ministries or reach out to me directly, and we will connect with your facility and see if we can set up a visit. Until then, I want to thank this week's guests and my friends at Golden Eagle Creative who produce it all. We'll see you right here at the same time in 2 weeks.
Oh my.